How's it going, folks? This is Aviel Leos from the Children's Court coming to you live from Mission Control Studios. And today I wanted to talk about the Democratic debate. Both of them. I'm going to more so be focusing on the second debate, but and spotlighting Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard. Listen, I want to say, just off the top, Tulsi Gabbard's the only chance that the Democrats take back the White House in 2020. There's no other candidate that was on either stage, first night or second night, that could even stand up inside a real conversation, a real political conversation with Donald Trump. That's not even possible. But for the sake of the sport of politics and debate, I wanted to kind of put a spotlight on Kamala also, because she was the victor as far as I'm concerned in the second debate. And again, this is relative to the people that she was on the stage with, not in the larger political spectrum. Because, like I said before, the only person that could have a true argument that the majority of Americans would resonate with would be Tulsi Gabbard. That's it. And she's actually somebody that I, for a split second, was like, I'd vote for her. I'd probably, as you get deeper into her politics, you can see that she kind of leans with the rest of the party as far as like health care for all, things that would impact working class citizens in a negative manner, whether she thought it was necessary or not. General American people in the working class, middle class, and upper, even lower class people wouldn't agree with, health care for all, which would, raise their taxes, essentially. Things like the Paris Accord, which is a tax on breathing air and using air conditioners and driving, things like that. Americans are not going to resonate with, and Trump is totally against all of that, which is generally oppressing the public. So even she is not going to beat Trump, but she would have the best chance, the best debate forum. She would have the best chance at having a fair debate with him, especially dealing with foreign wars. America is tired of being inside foreign wars. Trump is against all of that stuff. So neither one of them are going to beat him. But Kamala Harris, she deserves some credit. She took control of the second debate, the second night of debate. Joe Biden got the most talk time, but she made the biggest impact, and that comes off the heels of not just the point she was making about Joe Biden and his affiliation to segregationists. It also has to do with the fact that when everybody was yelling and screaming on the stage like demons out of hell, she kind of brought everybody back down to earth, and she spoke over everybody and said, hey, the people came here to, and I'm not speaking word for word, but generalizing, she said, well, people came here to listen to us debate about ideas that can make their lives better, not to hear us screaming and shouting like a bunch of, privileged rich kids, essentially, what she was saying. And she got applause for that, and that was the beginning of her taking control of the entire debate. Everybody else is mainly nameless. They're unmentionable. They didn't make any serious impact. We had the Batig, whatever his name is. I don't remember his name. I know he's homosexual. He has a husband, and he made the biggest joke of himself by talking about Christianity as as a weapon for war on a debate stage, and he essentially invoked God's name into his debate by saying God wouldn't smile on children being taken away from their parents at the border at the hands of federal agents. This is stuff that has no merit in the Bible, right? And then this is the funny part to me, is the fact that in the Bible, and he claims himself to be a religious man himself. This is a gay man, and inside the Bible itself, God, the Lord of Israel, says that being a homosexual, a man sleeping with another man, as he would a woman, is abomination to him, and that person would be surely put to death. Now, I mean, if that's not a hypocrisy at its best, at its height, then I don't know what else is. So for him to call Republicans and conservatives hypocrites because we're protecting the borders is a joke, and I think that's with the larger right-leaning media underhandedly is trying to say, because majority of these left-wing people have absolutely no understanding of the Bible and don't know anything that's actually said in it. So that was funny. But back to Kamala. Kamala attacks Joe Biden underhandedly. This is what I don't like about it. Like she made a statement. She made a loud and clear statement saying, "I don't believe you're racist." But then, goes into a full onslaught of exposing him to be, a racist sympathizer or a segregationist sympathizer. She basically said you supported two segregationists who were against the integration of blacks and whites in schools during the busing era. Basically, was against supporting the busing method of integrating schools, which he did. He danced around that and gave his own reason for it, whatever reason he thought could, save him from that, being he didn't want the federal government to run it. I mean, anybody with two brain cells can see right through that. And Joe Biden pretty much ended his run for the presidency with that conversation between them two, because she really did pull the rug from under him. She exposed him as a man who was against the ending of segregation, and he can't run from that. And she made it really heartfelt. She put herself into it. Now, the one point that people are making is she's putting herself inside of American descendants of slavery role, which she's not. But that's not the point she was trying to make. This isn't about the American descendants of slavery. She was a young black woman in America, and for all intents and purposes, her people were slaves too. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't buy any of that BS about Jamaicans and West Indians enslaving black people too. Those people were slaves also. So to try to discredit her as not being black, that's not true. She's not an American descendant of slaves. That's also true. But what she went through during that era is real. It's reality. She has the right to bring it up, and she has the right to be passionate about it. I'm glad that she exposed that. But she didn't say anything about it the whole time that he was the vice president for Obama, so it kind of discredits her too. And this is what we keep coming back to. And this is why she would not be a viable candidate as president against Donald Trump, is because even though she's pulling the rug from under him, even though she's good at maneuvering the debate stage with a bunch of other, Democrats that are not even really presidential material, it always overlaps itself with hypocrisy or her own demons. Kamala Harris is she was one of the strong arms inside the regime that came out of Bill Clinton's presidency. She became a prosecutor. She sent probably thousands of black men to prison, and she did it with prejudice. I mean, she can't try and be a champion for black people today when she was one of our worst nightmares in California. And they always seem to come out of California. The worst, most detrimental Democrats always seem to come out of California. And so, while I give her kudos for, stamping out her competition, I don't think there was anybody on the stage that sounded more intelligent than her with the wording. I don't think anybody else on that stage, which this stage didn't have Tulsi Gabbard on it. Tulsi Gabbard was on the first debate stage, but that stage, there was nobody else on that debate stage that you could even think of as a contender for a presidential race. It was like a big joke. It was a clown world, like Alex Jones says on his channel. But yeah, so Kamala Harris came out on top of that. I'm gonna give her credit for being the best of show on the debate. Like I said, even though it's not gonna go any further than that, if she's the main pick for the Democratic nominee and the main election, it's not even going to be a real race. Black people are not with Kamala Harris at all. They know what her history is, and they're not going to get behind it. They can put as many little groups of black people behind her on TV as they want. When it's time to vote, black people are going to understand who she is and the detriment to the black community she was, and they're going to vote Trump again. Trump is doing too much for us. He's doing too much good for black communities and the greater United States of America in general for her to compete. Tulsi Gabbard is the only one that could give Donald Trump a run for his money. I would be worried if Tulsi Gabbard actually got inside the race, because I think that it's possible for her to beat Donald Trump. I don't think she would, of course, but I think it's possible because people like me understand her and don't think she's a nut job. She's the only Democrat inside the race that's not a nut job. So, yeah, Democrat. The 2020 race, I believe it's going to be Trump in a landslide because, honestly, I don't think Tulsi's going to make it that far into the presidential race. It's either going to be Biden, Harris, or Warren, because that's who the party wants. They want one of these three. And, even though they're jumping ship on Joe Biden, if he seems to be the only viable candidate at the end of it all, they'll still run with him, and they'll try to trash Trump and do their best to get Joe Biden in office. But I believe it's going to be a landslide victory for Trump this time around. His black support has probably quadrupled since he's taken office. The media is trying to oppress that information, but his support from Latino community, obviously his own community, it's just through the roof, and nobody can really even compete with it. So if the Democrats want a chance, take my advice. Put Tulsi on the front. She's fucking beautiful, excuse my language, and she talks to the American people, not in a manner of, you gotta vote for me because Trump's bad, but she talks about the policy she wants to implement, and that's dangerous for Trump. If she decides to turn her back on his health care for all madness, she could possibly be a problem for him. So I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to keep talking. I could talk about this all night. I haven't gone too deep into anything. I just wanted to put a spotlight on Kamala and Tulsi. They're the absolute front runners for this. If any front runners for an opposition to Donald Trump, I don't necessarily see one generally, but if anybody, it's going to be out of those two. Seriously, if we're going to have any type of real fight for the White House. And, I'm happy about that. I want Trump to win again. If Trump wins again, then we have secured America for the next 50 years at least. So I'm gonna leave it right there, guys. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Did you watch the Democratic debates? Do you care about the Democratic debates? Talk to me. I'll talk back. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Black country, young rebels, revolutionaries fighting for what's right. Your thrones are too high, you need to come back down to earth. We're real people, you fall, we still see you. You're lost, we won't leave you, I promise that. What the hell does it mean to act your own age? I said forget what's sin, I make my own wave. Prodigy went to his grave, trying to save you niggas from yourself. Black contra men are brave.